Welcome to the X Show. This is your host, Tony Shu. Today we're going to be talking about a subject that is both business and personal to me. Family businesses. For those who may not know, I worked in my own family business since the age of 5. That may or may not have been okay, but you know what? I was raised Chinese, born to Chinese parents, and that's just the way they did. And today I have with me a special guest to be interviewed. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Oscar Galvan.
Great. And what is it that you do, Mr. Galvan?
My wife and I own a commercial roofing company that we established. We've been doing this for about 30 plus years. And she opened this company, the second company, she opened it about 14 years ago. And we've been working together all the time.
And this is a family business, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, so how is your family involved in your business right now?
Well, my wife is the brains. I'm a workaholic, but she is the brains. And we make a great team. And we have also 2 sons working with us. And very thankful for that, because it just gives you the sense of safety that is needed, where it's needed, when it's needed.
And so, why is it that you chose to make this, to have to involve your sons in the business, compared to them trying to seek employment elsewhere?
Well, they developed themselves. They grew up in the business, so they learned the business as they were growing up. And one is a nuclear engineer, and the other one is a psychologist major. So they can learn everything, and since they've been growing since kids, and they see what we do, my wife and I, so it was easier for them and a natural process of getting into the business, thank God, because it makes things easier for everybody, especially for my wife and I.
And what is the name of your business?
CS Advantage USA Inc.
Great. And what areas do you primarily serve? Do you do strictly commercial roofing, or do you do anything else?
No, that's pretty much what we do. Commercial, government entities, schools, cities, pretty much almost non-private.
I see. So, can you tell us a little bit more about both the roles that your sons play within the family business?
Sure. My wife is vice president, and my son, the eldest one, he is the director of finance, and all that has to do with finance. And the youngest one, he's also in the all accounting, payables and receivables, and also putting the bids together. It's a lot of paperwork nowadays that involves to bid a job. That's all we do, bid jobs. And since it's governments, they require a lot of paperwork and a lot of computer savvy. And that's what both of them are very good. So it takes, what it used to take me a complete day or 2 days to put something together, they can do it in 30 minutes.
Wow, that's definitely a huge improvement.
Yes, it really makes our life a lot easier.
So looking at what the future of the roofing industry is, how have you been adapting to what kind of trends have you been seeing, and how have you been adapting the latest technology in order to, satisfy your business needs?
Well, the roofing industry has made a lot of energy related on roofing. Before it was a lot of built-up roof, gravel surfaces, black surfaces with some EPDM roofs are black, and nowadays it's a lot about energy savings. So a lot of the roofs now are trending to go into the white surface. If it's a modified, then it needs to be Energy Star. If it is a TPO or PVCs, then they're white by nature, and they're Energy Stars. So that way they have the reflectivity that is needed, to be rated as an Energy Star, as well as insulation. And before, nobody thought about it, but nowadays there are some minimum rating coefficient that is needed or requested by the cities to be able to meet those, as well as their programs, government programs, that helps the schools when they meet a certain minimum R value of insulation, then they get some funds back.
I see. It's like a kind of like a cost savings approach.
Absolutely.
That sounds great. So let's really deep dive into the family business part of this business. That's the topic of the day. So how has working together as a family affected your business?
Well, it doesn't affect. It helps. Working with my wife, communicating with her, we work together, we make the decisions together, and working with the kids, it just, well, I call it kids, but they're 30 plus years. It's just a unique environment that helps, and the work needs to be done, and they get it done, and they're so quick that sometimes something that it took for me, long time, they do it in a day. So it's just a very unique environment, dynamic, that it works, and it has worked for years, and plus the safety that, well, at the end, you're not going to have anything stolen, money-wise. You're not going to have anything surprisingly disappear from your bank account. And since they're in the modern days, they learned, they were born with that, and they masterize it. So everything is computer control to the point that they pay everybody directly from the bank, and they have all the information available in a click of a button, and it really helps a lot.
I see. So one of the big, really selling points of having your family involved is that trust, because they're your family, so that you inherently trust them more than you would just somebody that you would employ, especially when it comes to anything finance related.
Absolutely.
Understood. So looking at that, how do you balance the professional side with working in the business, along with the family dynamics? Because I think a lot of people who have family, who have experience in family business, speak about my personal experience with family business, is that can sometimes be pretty difficult to draw that boundary between your work life and your personal and family life, especially when they all happen to be the same people.
Well, my wife did, in addition that we worked together as a team, she educate, which we all know that mom 90%, 95% of the work, and I give her credit for educating our sons, all of the three of them, fantastic, family orientated, putting the values, she put the values on them since they were little, the family values, the love, the trust, the respect for each other, the respect for the work, and the respect for not to take anything that is not yours. So with all that in hand, it's just fantastic. It really is. Because me as the head of the family per se, well, truly I give the credit to her, because she did a fantastic job and continue to do a fantastic job, family-wise as well as in the business, because she's truly, truly gifted, and I cannot be more blessed than that.
That's definitely amazing. I mean, definitely growing up with strong family values helps out the business. So looking at that, how does this impact the personal relationships that you have with your family, with your sons your sons, when you're working together. A lot of people out there who haven't worked in the family business before, they go to work and then they come home and the people that they see at work and the people that they come home to are two different sets of people. Well, in family business, it really becomes the same set of people. So how do you separate out that family relationship with the business relationship?
Respecting the time. When we're together as a family over the weekends, we don't talk about work. Very, very minimum or zero. I don't like to bring it up. It's a process of learning more for me than from them, because they're the new generation. I'm the old generation. And yes, I grew up with my dad, mom, and also in the family business, which was farming. It was a hard work. It was a very difficult process, growing up in that environment and the way that my mom was, and both of them anyway. But so learning, my wife teaching me a lot to separate the business from the family. And that has to be beginning from me, respecting the time of them. So when we're family, we get together as a family. It's a family reunion, and not be talking about business while we do a family reunion. That has to wait until the time of the work is in place.
So when you were growing up, you were in a family business of your own. It sounds like you worked on a farm, possibly your family's farm when you were growing up. Is that right?
Correct. I mean, I love it, but it's a tough life. Expecting if it rains, doesn't rain, so you can farm, or the cattle business. It was different. It was tough. Since I was a kid, about 12, 13 years old, on June and July, the time of vacation, the school vacation, all of us which were 1 year apart anyway, but all of us will be sent either to a ranch to stay there the 2 months, or to a family portion of the family business, like warehouses where we would buy and sell corn or Milo or things of that nature. And we were pretty much living in the office for 2 months. That was my case. And I enjoy it, but it was a tough. It was pretty much 24-hour open warehouse, receiving and embarking the Milo, and nobody else but me could enter a truck or let a truck go out. So it teaches you something.
Yeah, hardship. There's always a silver lining. There's something to hardship. And the lessons that you get from them are sometimes worth the effort. Well, at the very least, you get something out of that situation. So what was it like? So growing up, what was it like working in how should I say it? When you were growing up, how did working in that family business altogether affect your family dynamics? Like how your family treated each other? Did they have that separation when you were growing up, or was it all just kind of intermingled with each other?
With my dad and mom and my brothers, it was not like we're doing it today with our kids. This is a little somehow more respectful for their time and what they do as well with their money. That was not my case. I was judge of what I would do. In this case, is the opposite. They have their freedom to do what they want. Nowadays, of course, with our sons. So I respect what they do with their time and their money, because that's the way they need to be done, and help them when it's needed to be helped.
So having grown up with that kind of family business, it sounds like you didn't like it a whole lot. Like there was some pretty mixed feelings about growing up within that family business environment. So what kind of gave you the drive to try to do this again with your own
No, well, I have the advantage that I have my wife, and she's pure heart, but also she's wisdom. She's very, very intelligent, and she really teaches me through the years to do what I'm saying now, respecting our sons, daughter, to do what they want to do, and give them that freedom. It was a process because that's how I grew up. Just doing that family relationship that now I understand that it was not the best on my case. Yes, it teaches me a lot of stuff, good and bad. So it teaches me what we can be do and what cannot be done. So when I was growing up, I didn't see that mechanic of things that were happening until later in life.
I see. So your wife, through the insights that she was able to provide, as well as being the co-founder of this company with you.
She was the founder.
Oh, she was the founder. Okay.
Yes.
So knowing with her support and her insights, you felt comfortable making the culture of this family business separate from the culture that you had before. That's why you were willing to go ahead and give it another shot.
Absolutely. If I were not to have her, I would probably not have this company and not do what I do now and see the things that I see now. And it has to be the respect for the family, respect for the time, respect for what they do with their things, and not be judging them and embracing them. That's what it needs to happen. But I am honored. I am fortunate to really, really have her guide me and correct me on my mistakes, how I grew up in some items, and fix them and see in a different way. So this mechanic now of this company can work. Gotta be the respect.
It sounds like it took some time for you to finally develop this good, healthy, family business to personal life and boundary. What kind of challenges did you experience on the way to achieving this good balance you have now?
It was really me. It was all challenges in all areas, but it was really me because growing up in Mexico and with a family tough business and with a different way of doing things, it was normal for me back in those days, but there were things to have to change, and I'm really thankful for her, but that she teaches me. I'm sorry, so I saw the things that I was wrong, but it took me a while. I wish I had done it sooner and listened to her sooner, because it would create. I'm so stubborn, so it took me a while really to listen and to be thankful for the fantastic and great ideas and how great of a team she is, a team player. She just don't help me. She is the team player, and it took me a while. So I really wish I had listened sooner, years back, so I would have saved a lot of pain into the mechanism, how the things work, and which now I see.
Right, and you grew up in the Mexican cultural milieu, right? Like Mexican cultural attitudes, correct?
Right.
Right. And in Mexico, family structures are much more rigid than they are with the standard American here in the U.S. There's a stricter hierarchy of like parent, respect your elders, and those are more powerful in a sense than they are here in the U.S. Right?
Well, I'm not saying that, but I believe that they also have it here also in great values in families in the U.S. as well. I have the opportunity to have met beautiful people that their family, they work, they have a lot of values in them. So I think it's on both sides of the river.
I agree. There's definitely strong, good family values on both sides of the river. So I guess the question that I'm leading up to here is, considering the family structure, this family structure I grew up with, which I understand is fairly similar to like the Mexican family structures, that the older generation is the one to be respected, and it goes up through age. The younger respect the older, and so on and so forth. And so, how do you feel like that sort of cultural perspective has influenced the way that your family has made decisions about the business?
Well, the decisions in the business has always, and more after I really learned to respect the family, those decisions has been always was the best for the family. Number one. And number two, it has to be, of course, great for the business, but if it's going to affect the family, then you have to think about it, talk to your family before you make that decision. So communication with them, because at the end, it is a family business and it brings peace. If you say, this is a decision that we all need to make together. Do we want to get into this portion of work? Do we want to buy this? Do we want to sell this? Do we want to make this change that is going to affect in this way? I believe. So, all of us are on the same page and we all make, and it makes easier for me to make a decision at the same time that it helps all being on the boat together, because at the end we are. And as a family business, my wife and I, wish that our sons, all three, can benefit from it as well. Not just my wife and I. This is a whole family that we all can benefit from it and make a living, make people happy, be professional, and have happy owners that we work with, respect everybody. But it's not just one person making all the decisions. No, it really makes, even for me, it makes easier when I talk to them. This is going to happen. Do we want to get into this or not? And sometimes they say no, and then I don't, because it's just easier. It makes it makes things easier for me when all of us are on the same page, rather than just me making a decision because I'm the eldest one or something like that. You know, it's important to communicate, to let them know. That way we all make a decision.
That sounds fantastic. Just to clarify for your listener, he does have 3 kids, but only 2 of them are his sons, and he has one daughter who is not involved in the business. Correct?
Correct.
Yes, and his daughter happens to be my wife, also co-host Daughter Shoot. So it sounds to me like looking at involving family business. There's a lot of strengths involved with the trust and the innate nature of working closest with family. But it sounds like I'm also hearing a few limitations, because any business decision will end up affecting the whole family in not just their family life, but also their professional life. And so you really have to strike a careful balance and make sure that everyone gets taken into consideration.
Respect. That's correct. Respect them, because at the end, if we have this business, my wife and I, we like to pass it to them, healthy business. And as more they're involved, it's easier for them. rather than just make decisions where nobody knows. They need to know and be part of it.
Right.
Beginning with my wife, because we work together, and then from then the kids. I call it the kids, but they're adults. Everybody. So it's just benefits everything.
No, that sounds great. I mean, it sounds like a truly wonderful way that you have your business run. That's fantastic. So considering that you said that the way that they grew up with like good strong values, good strong values if you credit to your wife. How do you think your family's history and their values have influenced the way that you run your business and how you approach your clientele?
Okay, when you said my family, meaning my family here, this one that I have now versus the one that I grew up.
Versus the one that you grew up in. But if you want to talk about both, then I think that would be a great point of comparison.
The old family in Mexico, it basically make me a workaholic. Because that's all we did 7 days a week. I work once I finished my career in the college, mechanical electrical engineer, then I work in the farm, which I was doing it before anyway, and then continue on that. And I did work for a while at a chemical plant, which they didn't pay good, so I went back into the family business because they were not really paying good.
Sounds to me like, to a certain extent, getting that job at a chemical plant sounded like you wanted to get out of your family business.
No, really. When I finished, I got an offer because they're always looking for people. Those places, they went to colleges and find people and make me an offer. So I said, okay, let's give it a try. So I did. And it happens to be in my where I was born, this chemical plant, DuPont, which is a big American plant.
DuPont is huge.
Yes. And, Chemical Fluor, that's the name of it, is owned by DuPont. And they have a similar, identical plants in the U.S., which I came to see those plants in U.S. And the difference was that in Mexico, there was 500 of us. In the same plant in U.S., it was 20 people.
Right. Let's focus back on the family business, the business side of it. So how do you think that, the way that your history with your own family, as well as the history and values that you have with your family now, your current family with your wife and your sons and your daughter, how do you think that has influenced the way that you've run this current family business, this roofing company, and how you approach your clientele?
Yeah, okay. What I learned from the old one, what I kept from the old one, is really the workaholic ethic. What I learned from this one, and it took me a while, but I guess I finally did it, is really with making a team with my wife and listening to her that control myself to behave and respect everybody. So I will not be making decisions that I will impact their lives, but in a good way. So, with that in mind, is to communicate better with them and ask for their inputs and things. So that's what really I am now, that if someone has a family business, they need to respect everybody, respect their time, respect their opinions. Do not make a decision that is going to affect their lives without first involving them in that decision. So it's not your decision, it's everybody's decision. No money is worth to losing your family.
I agree. Looking at that, I mean, when when the company first started, your sons weren't involved at the beginning. Is that correct?
Well, they were too young, but as they were growing up, they start kicking in. I mean, at the age of, I'll say 18, 19, when the eldest one, when he came in college after a year, he stepped into the business. He was doing college as well as he was working in the company. And he paid himself the college.
And how long ago was that?
Oh, man, that's about 13 years ago.
13 years ago. So what kind of what kind of changes have you seen in the business as a result of your sons joining it? Like the fresh perspectives that they're able to bring as part of the newer generation? Besides from what you've talked about earlier about making some tasks more efficient.
Just thinking on the paperwork that goes from reports on payroll reports, payments to the IRS. I mean, everything on the legal portion of it, it's fantastic because they do everything through via computer and the reports are generated automatic. So it's a lot easier than the old-fashioned way of writing handshakes, the checks, making it by hand and deducting everything that has to be deducted. It was just so painful. So now it's seamless. They make it look easy, but it took me a lot to accomplish, 15, 16 years ago, 20 years ago. So they really make things look easy when they're not.
Mm-hmm. What are the fresh perspectives? How else do you think they've impacted the business as well?
It just makes things, doing the work a lot easier and having a better quality of life. On the personal side as well as in the professional, be able to make better reports for the owners, better looking reports, more professional. So all of that, it just helps a lot.
It sounds like they're mostly involved in the administration side then.
Correct.
Okay. Can you share any stories about how working together as a family has helped you overcome different business decisions or different business situations?
Well, for example, when you get a job, you have to turn in the submittals. So the architect.
When you mean a job, what? Can you clarify what you mean by a job?
Well, when I call it getting a job, it's you turn in bids, and you're the successful bidder. So you gotta turn in a lot of paperwork that goes through the bidding and then after the bidding. And that's called, once they say, okay, you are the successful bidder, you're gonna turn in submittals. So it's a requirement. And so they know what materials, what manufacturer you're bringing into the project, and they have to approve it. So before, I used to submit it just copies in black and white, and they just look simple. But nowadays, they do everything in the computer, professional, with a cover letter that has the emblem of the school district. So they look with index, and they just look more professional. Very professional, and the architect like it. And they know me from 25 years ago, those architects, so they see, and they make the comments, man, this looks a lot better, Oscar, than what you used to give me. So this is a big improvement. So it looks more professional. Just to make an example, I'm picking on submittal case.
Right, and these are basically requests by various government districts, like perhaps a school district, so requesting that they need some kind of project done, repair for the roof done, and that's what you're referring to when you're saying that you're submitting in a bid.
Well, that's submitting the bid, but after you get the bid, that's a lot of paperwork, which they make it a lot easier, because I'm not a computer savvy. I know just the basics, but they really know how to play, per se, with that, and it looks a lot more professional. And nowadays, after the corona, even better, because everything now, nobody wants to touch papers anymore. They want it electronic formats. So they prepare fantastic reports, very professional, very good, and it's just better presentation for the company as well.
That sounds great. It sounds like they really made an impact. So how has running the family business, have you noticed that any changes to the relationship that you have with your family, with your sons or your wife, running that family business together?
Any changes? Well, like I said, it makes things easier so we can get more time free. Because things can be done faster, better. In this business, you gotta be faster, you gotta be professional, you gotta be able to produce the information that they needed. Paperwork was required. I'm gonna say it's 30-40% of the work. Doing the job is hard because it's a physical job. At the building, at the roof, to remove the old roof and put the new one. But the paperwork is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of effort to put everything together. So they make it look easy, and they do it faster, better, easier, so it just helps to have more time and free where we can all be together and enjoy the family. It doesn't make any sense just working hard. I mean, 7 days a week when you don't, that's not the idea. You got to respect the workers' time as well so they can have free time as well as the family.
Right. So looking at that, how do you think, let me rephrase this. You've talked a lot about how maintaining that healthy boundary of when work is done, when the hours are over, we stop talking about work and we treat each other like a family again. Like this is a regular family, as if the work wasn't existing almost.
That's the whole idea, yes.
Do you struggle with maintaining that boundary now? Especially, I don't know too much about the roofing business specifically, but I imagine that sometimes there may be emergencies that require some after-hours work. So, do you struggle with maintaining the boundary nowadays? Are there moments when there are moments when business needs become so pressing that you feel like the need to cross that boundary sometimes?
Well, when emergency occurs, there's some other people that work for the company, and that's their job. So they're the first one that the architect or the owners will call, and they take care of it. And again, I do my best to not bring that into the family reunion, because the dynamic will change in that family reunion. So it's me, the one that has to say or make the decision in my head. I'm not going to bring this up because I sent a text to someone in the company that is going to take care of this, so I'm not going to bring it up because it's been taken care of anyway.
So has there ever been a situation where you felt like you really had a struggle with maintaining that boundary?
It's for me. But if I keep it in me, then the rest of the family don't have to know until the time is right. So, but once I'm learning better and better every day to control that and don't bring it up in a moment that is going to change that family reunion. It's not worth it. So, and especially if it's been taken care of, then I think I'll handle myself better now, and don't change that dynamic, family dynamic.
Right, that family dynamic sounds important. But I mean, in a family, it's not just you anymore. So I'm curious, is this something that do you think that this is something that your sons have struggled with before, maintaining this kind of boundary? Because they have their own, it sounds like they have their own responsibilities, and you give them a lot of leeway in deciding how to, form different business functions. So is there times when they have struggled with maintaining that family dynamic as the work bled over into them?
No, it's easier for them because they call who they need to call and don't bring it up. That's easier for them. Me, because I'm an old-fashioned way, but for them it's a lot easier to do that and keep the family reunion a family reunion.
I see. So you really look at this. You really look at this as a top-down approach. It's all coming from you, and you're the one who sets the mood for how different family reunions and how this company culture works out.
Well, I don't want to be the one setting the mode for the family reunion. I think it's more my wife has the heart when a family reunion is in place to keep that a beautiful family reunion. I'm not gonna change that. I will not be the one changing that atmospheric reunion to keep it in that. So I don't set the pace. I wanna be in the family reunion, enjoy it, and if they receive a phone call or they receive a text, my sons, they will make the decision they need to make, and that's it. It's easier for them than it used to be for me.
Right. But you feel a sense of responsibility. It sounds like you feel a sense of responsibility for keeping that to yourself and to maintain and to manage it yourself so that it doesn't affect the rest of the family.
I could not say it in a better way. That's correct.
Is that ever hard for you?
It's always been hard.
I mean, definitely the way you grew up, it sounds like it's a huge change from what you were used to. I mean, how long were you, when was the time that you left your family business from the first one when you were growing up as a kid?
I was 24 years old or 25 when I started doing this, roofing business. And, but those 25 years when you're growing, they really stuck into you, because that's how you grew up. It sets your pace, your mode, your patience, it sets everything. So, but when you're married, you have to listen to your wife. That's the best thing I can say. Listen to your wives because they're so intelligent, way more than us men, and respect that. And as sooner as you listen to that, the happier you're going to be, both of you, and also the better it's going to be in your business, without a doubt.
That sounds like you've definitely made a lot of you definitely had to force yourself for a lot of personal growth in order to make this family business successful.
I couldn't say it any better. Yes.
How did it feel when you were going through that kind of change? I mean, because you've lived that way. At that point, you've been living like that for, it sounds like more or less your entire life. And suddenly you have to make this change. Do you struggle with making that change still?
I am sorry for the people that I offended in that process. It's the struggle. During that struggle time, which it is a struggle, I offended some people, I hurt some people, and that I'm sorry for that. I really am, because it shouldn't be. But it was me more, the person that I have to adapt, change, respect, and it took me a while to do that. And I wish I had done this 30 plus years ago.
It sounds like you really put all this on yourself, on your own shoulders.
Well, because I know I hurt people in the process. Now I'm saying what I do. That doesn't mean that I did it 30 plus years. I wish I had done it.
Right.
And make the decision, family decisions, and put the family first. If you put your family first, you're going to succeed in business, without a doubt. If you want to only succeed in business dragging your family through, it doesn't help. It really doesn't help.
Looking at that, how do you plan for the future of the business? What's your future plan about this? I mean, you're getting close to a retirement age. Are you planning on retiring anytime soon?
Are you telling me old, Tony? That I'm old?
You may be.
Okay. What I see in the future is, I like to continue, but at a less pace. So the kids, no longer kids, can keep working, making a living. And I don't plan to do this for all my life. Absolutely not. There will be a time when I'm going to tell them, okay, guys, I'm going to keep traveling, making trips. See you in a month. Or see you in 2 months. Behave, do good. You know what to do. You've been doing it for years, so I'll see you guys.
And so how are you planning on managing the transition to that stage? Because obviously now you're handling a lot of responsibilities with the business for yourself. And which I imagine, a lot of that is stuff that they may not necessarily know all of it, or they may not necessarily be trained to it to a level that you feel comfortable with. So how are you planning on managing that kind of transition from now until that point that you hit? Well, see you later. I'll see you in 2 months.
I've been doing it now, and they've been doing it, and so I've been passing to them more and more and more every time, every week, a little more every time. So there'll be a point where I kind of feel that I won't be necessary, which is where that will be the point where I'll say, okay, guys, see you. But it's approaching soon, maybe in 5 years.
How do you think that you'll know when that moment has happened? That you feel that you're capable of passing on this business, which is something that's taken up so much of your life. It's something that you're very proud of, having built up this business. How do you know when it's ready to make that trend, to hand them the reins and say, this is your job now?
Well, I'm going to find that out when the moment comes. But it's just basically when they start doing the entire process from zero, preparing going to the pre-bids, putting the bid together, getting the job, doing all the paperwork after the contract is in place, running the guys, and closing the job. That's pretty much a full circle. So when that's happening, and they continue doing it like that, then it's moment to say, okay, guys, I'm going to disappear for a month or 2 months. It's coming. It's coming. It's no doubt about it.
Sounds like you're gonna test it out a little bit, go for a month, come back. If everything's on fire, you'll stay a little bit longer. Everything looks okay, nothing's on fire, then you'll keep living out your life the way that you want to live out your life.
Right. It won't be on fire. It will be fine. It's a process, and they're doing fantastic.
Awesome. That sounds good. Well, appreciate you so much for coming on and interviewing here on the X Show. Last question. Do you have any other advice that you would give to someone families who are considering starting a business together, or perhaps someone who's in your situation and wants to, and their sons or their daughters want to join their business?
Thank you. Well, you're calling it a family business. So by that, it means a family business. Yes, it has to be one person making the decision. That's the decision to the public. But really, that decision has to be made with the family involved. So, I mean, to the architect or to the owner, he only the face that person is making that decision, but really, it's all the people behind him and with him that matters. And do not get or make a decision that is going to hurt your family. It's not worth it. For all the money in the world, it's not worth it. Because if you're going to make decisions that is going to affect your family dynamics, the love of your family, then why you have that family business? To hurt your family? Don't do it. Make sure it's together. or everybody on the same boat, everybody pushing in the same direction. Respect your wife, make a team with her, make it part of it, as sooner as better, and it will go fantastic.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I really appreciate you coming on. Just one last question that just occurred to me in my head. When your kids were growing up, did you expect them to be a part of the business at some point, or were you expecting this to always be something that was more you and your wife's project?
No, well, I was hoping that they will step in. I really was. When they were kids, I was hoping that they will step in and get in and work like they're doing now and more every time. I was hoping, and I'm glad that they did.
But as you know, your daughter, my wife,
right,
and co-host, didn't end up following your footsteps. Didn't end up following those footsteps, and now she's got her own. Now she's got her own private practice in therapy. How did you feel about the fact that sounds like you were hoping that she would join in, but ultimately she chose against it? How do you feel about that?
Well, no, she's not against it. Everybody has and needs to open their wings in the direction that they want to do it. And we are, my wife and I, and I'm going to give more credit to my wife because she is more in the helping them to embrace their own future, Tony. So, as you well know, so we are, as parents, we do it happily, as you well know, to help our daughter or sons to do something that they want to do aside from the business, family business, no problem. To the contrary, the business is going to help that son or daughter to accomplish what they want because they're part of the family. And the family owns the business, fantastic. It is to help each and every one of the members.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thank you so much for coming on here, Mr. Galvan. Really appreciate your time. Listeners, thanks for listening and tuning in to our show today. We'll see you next time on the X Show, where curiosity meets insights about the world.